Did you ever think we would be 10 days, or less really, from election to find out who the next president is? Who's going to be over the Senate? Who's going to be over the House? There's a lot of big decisions. At the same time, did you ever think that one would start trending and the other one would almost start imploding? We'll talk about that today, because the president now, Biden, just let some crazy things out and said some things that I think we need to bring attention to. We're going to talk about that leak today. And then we're going to talk about not only one, not two, not three, but four. Four world conflicts going on right now. And as we talked about before, when the cat is away, the mice will play. That's what happens when you have weak leaders. When the weak leader is nowhere to be found, when he's on a beach in Delaware, or when she's campaigning on with Beyonce, what actually happens is there's no leader in the White House, and people do what they want. Dictators, bad guys, they do what they want. Power-hungry, evil people, they do what they want. Why? Because there's not someone strong holding them to account. The cat's away, the mice will play, and that's exactly what's happening. Now let's talk about some of these things today and how we should make sure we cannot ignore these things going on with these conflicts, because they just took a major turn last night. Let's jump in. Hey guys, welcome to the Max. Thank you so very much for being here today. If you are new to the channel, go down here, press subscribe, ring the bell, give us a thumbs up. It means the world to me, and we humbly ask that you do that. It helps us spread our message across this platform. Now, today we're going to be discussing not only what Trump said, we're also going to be discussing what's happening in the White House. We hear some ruckus, and I think that Biden let some things slip, and I think the Dems are panicking. So we're going to talk about that today. And also, we can't ignore the fact that there's four conflicts going on as we speak, and one took a major turn last night. The others are starting to do the same. I mean, are we looking at all that war here? I mean, there's never been a time in our history when there's been four other conflicts happening in the world that could each spark another great war. Now let's dive into these things. Now first, let's talk about what Trump said. I think this speaks volumes. He said, one thing you've got to realize, even though she's tanking in the polls, I'm not actually facing Kamala. I'm not. I'm actually not in a race versus Kamala. She is just a puppet. I'm actually in a race versus a system. And the system is strong. The system is established. And the system has been really fighting all these battles, other than when the Trump was in before. I mean, it really has been to a point where the system has been ran by bureaucracy. I mean, look at Washington right now. Chaos is ensuing. There's no one in the White House. Kamala is campaigning all over the United States and doing a terrible job, and we'll talk about that. But not only that, you have Biden on vacation. Again, on vacation. He's in Delaware. He's not in Washington. So the problem we have is we have bureaucrats trying to run our system, or an establishment trying to run the government when they should not be. Did we elect those people to do that? No. Do we want career politicians and career bureaucrats doing this job and setting their precedent versus the Americans' precedent? No. That was never how it was supposed to be. So Trump made a good point. He said, I'm not facing Kamala. She's just a puppet they chose to use, just like they chose to use Biden. I'm facing a system. And Vivek has always said, you know, it's the managerial class, and it's the same thing. We're looking at a buildup of just a swamp. I mean, it's really what it is. And we have to get in there, and we have to start changing some things. That also talks about changing politicians, such as the career politicians that are supposedly your friends. They'll backstab you in a heartbeat. Look at McConnell this last week, what he did and what he said about Jack Smith and J6. And this guy needs to go. He needs to retire and get away from Washington. So like Trump, I do want him to be smarter in some of the decisions he makes, especially if he wins. At the same time, I know he's got to have some politicians. I know he's got to have some bureaucracy. I understand all that. But I hope this outsider stays outside. And I hope that he gets people who are good at their jobs. And I really hope he uses Vivek, and he uses RFK, and he uses Elon to do some major changing, because I believe we could see that pendulum swing we talked before. So now let's talk about Kamala, what's happening, and then we're going to dive into what we don't need to ignore with these conflicts. Kamala, there's been two things that's come out. She's done two events, or really 3 days worth of events, to where she's had people heckle her, disrupt the whole event, booze. There's been a lot of that this last week, and she does not know how to do it. They actually shook her last night, where he's yelling that she needs to quit doing these policies and these crazy policies with no border and how she's lying. And it really, honestly shook her. She couldn't follow the teleprompter. She looked weak and looked uninformed and actually looked very beaten. She really did. She looked like it was over for her. She looked like, I don't mean this in a crass way, but she looked like a loser. She looked like someone who, was completely thrown off by that. Now that person probably got tossed out, or those people got tossed out, and then she went on with the rally. Her rally, if you notice, she's becoming almost like a dictator. She's using her hands. She's more anger. This is what we're going to get. So why are we thinking that she's actually doing good? Actually, she got booed the other day. And here's the thing: a lot of the media, they're trying to keep their own credibility, even though they're all worthless liberals too. They don't want to lose all their credibility. Even David Axelrod, who was a Democratic strategist for Obama, again, pulling back and calling her word salad Kamala, talking about she needs to strengthen her talking. You hear the fact that these people like Anderson Cooper, all these liberal news media anchors are all starting to talk and say, well, she needs to do this, critical of Kamala. Because what they don't want to do is just follow her blindedly, which they are, but do it always where people think that, and then they lose all their credibility. They've lost most of it. Now they're trying to keep some sense of it. So she's actually tanking, inevitably. Now I want you to listen to what Biden said, because this is what is huge. And before we talk about Biden, did you see, really the Beyonce thing blew up in her face because she didn't perform like Springsteen and all these other musicians did. She didn't. So therefore everybody thought she was coming to sing and play, and that didn't happen. And I think a lot of people got upset. They said there was a mass exodus of people leaving, and there was booing. And again, Kamala could not control the crowd. Now let's talk about what Biden said. And this was actually a leak that came to Jack Posobiec just yesterday. It says this: breaking, Biden is telling advisors the election is dead and buried, and called Kamala an innate sucker. This was from our White House official that is not named. This is the conversation that Jack Posobiec and this person had. This morning, which is Biden, conveyed to multiple advisors that the election is dead and buried, and called K, which of course Harris, is an innate sucker and too credulous from the starting line. Meaning she was always deemed to fail because it was never an open primary. She wasn't the candidate everybody wanted, and now people are starting to wake up to it. He absolutely slammed her schedule versus what Donald's doing, 45. The thing is, they tried to, Michelle came out yesterday and Kamala, and they're talking about how weak Trump is and how old he is and how he looks like he's tired. This man is walking circles and flying all over the country. Do you know Kamala took a 2 to 3 day break before that Anderson Cooper town hall? A scripted town hall, she took a 2 to 3 day break. Last night she was drinking a beer with the Michigan governor, trying to look like she's just one of the guys. It's incompetency, and that's exactly what Biden. It's funny that Biden, again, a career politician, no matter what you think about him, and I think he's a sleazy career politician. I believe that he has done absolutely nothing for the country, actually caused it more harm. But even as a career politician in his old age, he still sees the writing on the wall. And the race between the classic hare and tortoise, but the hare is too stupid and just lazy. There is a special button in his head and his forehead that the moment behold where he gets very mad. He says he's been referring to Obama as virtually everyone who forced him out as suckers and some explicitives. What he's saying is he's mad. Now, I'll be honest with you. The man is kind of senile, and because he's mad, he may let a lot more slip over the next 10 days. So I figure you're going to see them rein him in pretty heavy. A lot of the Democrat strategists and the puppet string masters are going to rein him in because of this kind of stuff that's starting to leak now. They're going to probably tighten his inner circle because they do not need this kind of leak showing that he doesn't even believe Kamala's going to win. Crazy times. And this is why it's so important. This is why she can't win. Listen to this. Surge in illegal immigrants in swing states under Biden-Harris. Now, these are the people that she has already said that she would give amnesty to and citizenship to. Michigan leads with a staggering 775% increase of illegal immigrants. So thank your governor when she was drinking a beer last night with Kamala. She's ruining your state, Michigan. Followed by Arizona, 734%. Nevada, 562%. Wisconsin, 467%. North Carolina, 446%. Georgia, 401%. And Pennsylvania, 241%. All those are the swing states in play. Trump is winning every one of them right now. But this is how serious it is. You give these people ballots, this is huge percentages. If you give these people ballots, who are they voting for? If Kamala wins, these people will be citizens, and there will never be another Republican or conservative or populist win election. This is why this election is so important. This is what you cannot ignore, is these kind of numbers right here. And one more story you cannot ignore is this new story about how we're not only dealing with 1, 2, or 3, but we're dealing with 4 wars, basically, that could easily break out and spark and cause a major catastrophic world event. This is from the Economic Collapse blog, Michael Snyder. It says, have you ever seen a time when 4 major global wars are all percolating simultaneously? We've reached a moment in history where none will forget. The unthinkable is happening, where we're looking at 4 different conflicts in regional events that could spark a national crisis. It says, if we do not change course, billions of precious souls could die during the nightmarish global wars that is rapidly approaching. I think that's huge. Listen to this. Just a few days ago, Chinese President Xi boldly talked about preparation of war. We talked about that in another video, and how he wanted to make sure that his military is ready. Listen to this. It says, Xi said that the military should comprehensively strengthen, train, and prepare for battle. We will surround Taiwan. Now, we're not, we don't have to discuss the Russia-Ukraine situation, where literally they said over 500,000 people have probably been killed, men. And that's generational changing there for that culture, for that region. Now, not only that, North Korea has been making all sorts of noise lately. In addition to sending troops to fight in Ukraine, the North Koreans have also threatened to invade South Korea. It says that over 250,000 troops have been close to the border for both North and South Korea. And again, just one little spark in that de-escalation zone could bring havoc. And you're talking about North Korea, who is a man with a lot of nuclear weapons. Trump said that people don't realize how big his stockpile is of nuclear weapons. And he has them, and if he's willing to use them, it's going to be against someone that we supposedly have a relationship with, such as South Korea or even Ukraine. Because even though I'm not for this Russia-Ukraine situation, now that North Korea is entering with troops with Russia, you are now seeing a regional war become an axis of war. That's a big deal. Now, the big change last night, on Sunday night, which is basically, they're ahead of us, so it'd be like last night, the IDF spokesman, Daniel Hagari, warned that Israel would soon begin targeting any financial institutions that aid Hezbollah. Here's why. Because Iran has now said that they're coming back and they're going to retaliate. So we're seeing escalation upon escalation upon escalation. They keep saying this day events where they're going to bomb this person, bomb this person, bomb this place. Now they're escalating to a point where they're bombing each other. Last night, branches of Al Hassan Association's banks were hit by the Israeli airstrikes. This is where now you have a Ayatollah, supreme leader, basically, with Iran, who's came down and actually leaked that he is very ill. So who's going to come to power? What are we going to see in Iran? Are we going to see someone more that's saying, death to Israel and death to America? Are you going to see someone that pulls to the center and gets away from all this like they had back in the 70s and early 80s? That's the question. So now we're going to see a very tumultuous next few days and weeks when it comes to Israel, Iran, not because just Israel bombing the terrorist groups that Iran is backing, but the supreme leader of Iran now is basically dying. He's severely ill, is what the reports say. Now, if that's the case, who's going to rise to power? Is it going to be one of his sons? Who's going to rise to power, and are they going to be the kind that's going to be like him or be like others? The people of Iran are sick and tired, I think, of their leadership, but they can't do anything about it. that should be a foreshadowing for most countries, especially like in Europe and in America, where their people cannot do anything about their leadership because they've allowed them to basically emasculate them to a point where they cannot do anything because they've taken all the rights away from them. Don't allow that to happen anywhere across the world, especially in America. But have you ever thought that you would be in a situation where you're 10 days from election, you have attempts on the former president who is now leading and trending in the polls, the other one is crashing and burning, and there is a chance for 4 wars to break out? There's a lot to prepare for. Do not ignore these warnings, and make sure you're focused on what is going on, because it's going to get real intense real quick. And if you're grounded, especially in faith, if you're grounded in your preps, you're grounded in spiritual things, physical things, mental things, and making sure you're emotionally ready for this, we'll be okay. Guys, thank you for watching. Again, it's Sunday. Take your family to church. Make sure that you are spending time together as you start your week. Guys, thank you so much for watching. God bless.